project.
Mm.
I was just trying to find a way to make sure that I don't fall out of that, that feeling that you get, oh, I don't know what I'm going to work on.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling like working on this right now. Like my mind just entered that state where it's just like, okay, I don't know what to do. Like I'm not feeling it. And I
Uh-huh.
was just like, okay, I'm just not going to feel this feeling right now. And I'm going to do something else. Right.
Okay, okay.
And I pivoted. I started working on something else.
You mean you were starting to get that feeling of like I don't know what to do and
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Like for a project, like when I'm working on Tamashika, for example,
Yeah.
right? Like it's been a long project, and I'm like still coming up with ideas, and some days like I'm almost like I can feel like I'm surrounded by these ideas. Like the
Mm.
ideas are surrounding me almost. Um, and other days like it doesn't show. It's just there's no. I lack some kind of like directionality. Like I don't know which way to go with the project. So
Okay.
just at those times, like there's I need to like jump in and make sure that there's something that I can do to make sure that I don't fall.
But what do you do? So you just work on something else?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
That's nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay. And but generally how much time does it take for you to like from the moment you get the idea to actually having a game?
It can take years.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
can
yeah.
sometimes take like just a few weeks.
Uh,
Um,
oh, if it's okay,
if
okay.
it's a smaller idea, it depends on
Yeah.
the scope. um, but there's also like you can do you have that thing with your projects, like when you're working on a comic or something, like do you have that moment where you kind of like there's like two phases, like where you're trying something to see if you can build it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then going to the second phase where you know this is something that you're going to finish. Like do you have the hard boundary?
I I don't yeah I don't know if it's that I don't know I usually write the story first, so I kind of know where it's going, but then I don't yeah I can yeah I can I've had that feeling, yeah.
So
But
when you
I don't think it's yeah, in the beginning it's actually difficult to uh, keep the disciplined like just at least doing one page,
mm-hmm.
yeah, just being disciplined, yeah. And then slowly it's like, yeah, you do one page, and then like, and then at the end you
Yeah.
have a full story, uh, and then I go over it again with maybe more detailed. So I do the thumbnail like a
Mm-hmm.
little sketch, and then I do the detailed pencils, and
Mm-hmm.
then, well, detailed. I mean, I it's just enough for me to understand how to ink it, and then once that's done, I ink it, and then yeah. So,
Mm.
and yeah, it's that um, again, I think we talked about this. I'm not there where I'm not in that space yet where I can do only that, like, and
Mm.
then not listen to anything or anything.
Mm.
So I don't know. I still maybe if I yeah for that's why I'm trying to go out and work now, because then you have the background people. I don't know. I like when it's a little bit busy. I mean, of course, not annoyingly noisy, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's like background noise, like I kind of like in a coffee shop or
Man,
yeah.
that's a you thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's just like it completely like
Maybe
snaps me
that's
out
the
of
thing.
it.
Like if I'm thinking about story, I don't want that.
Okay.
But I want to be. But then once it's already there, and all I'm doing is basically
Mm.
like essentially clarifying with inks and cleaning up.
Mm.
It's and then you erase the pencil. So or
That's
so in
cool.
that stage, I can yeah I try to uh, do it from.
I'm
But
assuming
yeah.
when you're in that state, like you're kind of like just zoned out. Like you know exactly
Uh,
what you have to do, and it's
yeah.
just the act of being with your pen,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
But again, that's another annoying thing with the coffee shops in Bangkok, which is there are a lot of them and they're great, but and people are not like noisy, or they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
But the only thing is the aircon. Like sometimes it's just annoying. Like when you get very cold. So sometimes I just prefer staying at home.
Yeah, Boris came with a
Because-
full T-shirt today, so like full sleeve T-shirt because my aircon is also apparently
No,
too
no, no.
cold.
It's just that I know myself. Like each time I've been like directly like under like an aircon. I always like automatically get sick. So and that's like annoying for like 2-3 days. I don't want to catch cold. So.
For me, it's the lighting usually, especially in Bangkok, where I don't think they put a lot of effort into making it aesthetic. And the way I like it is usually like the lights have to be a little bit dim. Otherwise, it feels like I'm in like a hospital room.
Yeah.
And man, I cannot. Like my brain turns off. Like it's a really weird reaction that I have. Like I think I'm already sensitive
I think
to sound.
maybe it's just your brain and maybe too
Very
too
like
alert.
hyper stimulated
Yeah,
very
yeah,
easily.
yeah,
I think that's something that I feel like the quintessential kind of like you're at a loud restaurant and it's like bustling and it's alive and everything, and you're sitting around the table with your friends and everyone's like having a conversation as if nothing's wrong, and I'm just like, you guys can hear each other, like what, right? Like,
No, but I mean, it depends. Yeah, there are some. It's like so. Like that's why I don't if we see that it's full.
right.
We usually don't go there because like it's we're just going to be screaming at each other.
I usually prefer the places. The places that I found, and these are the more expensive places because they're not trying to maximize space. So places where there can't be that many people because they just don't have that many tables. Those are like my spots where I can actually like go and like focus on something. Yeah.
No, but again, that's I don't know what it is. It's because I also wanted like but filmmakers who work on. But I guess the game is different because you are doing like the architecture, like the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm usually writing code. And, that's very
And-
brainy
and
stuff.
Exactly. So that will take like like so many, like you said, sometimes years, months. But even like some filmmakers work on like one film. I'm sure they're doing other things, but like you hear sometimes, like he's been working on this for 10 years. So again, the point I'm getting at is like I want like that thing that I'm working on to be the best thing, right? But at the same time you cannot like work on a project saying like, oh, this is. I don't know. I don't think I've been excited for people to read like, oh, this is so messed up. Like I wish people can read it. So and then that's kind of like the motivation to finish. But I'm still like not in that. Like what I'm saying is that I still need some like listen to like something like a YouTube or like a music. So that
Yeah, I don't know
it
how
gets
much
into
that's
it.
helping me. Like I do that too. Like when I'm working, I'd play something in the background, but I'm just like,
That's what I feel like I don't think it's help. I think we're just like I've just trained my brain that way, but I don't think.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we're supposed to do one thing at a time, and I think that way I think it should get the most attention.
yeah,
I don't
the
know. I
draining of
feel like-
energy there is, I think, for me at least, very obvious. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
actually splitting my attention.
It's
very
like
visibly.
it's like talking to two people, right? Having a
Yeah.
conversation with two people,
Yeah.
and
Like when you give a thing your total attention,
Yeah.
like there's something that happens there, and I feel like I've experienced that with the work that I've done, where even if I am in that state and I am like playing something in the background, it's just noise. Like my mind is not going to it. It's just like this buffer that exists at the back, which is just building some kind of like
It's
a
almost like
boundary
a-
wall
yeah,
for my
exactly,
work, right? Like
exactly,
that's
yeah.
one way of doing it.
it's
The
like
other
the
one,
white noise wall. Yeah.
yeah, but then in other instances, what happens is like, oh, I'm working, but my mind is actually just like focused on some conversation that's happening on YouTube, and that like it always shows. It leaves me feeling a certain way also. Like when I'm done working, I'm just like, okay, nothing's happening. Like, and like nowadays, what I do is I try to like snap myself out of it very quickly.
Yeah.
Just I can tell, oh, I'm actually not working at all. like I'm not doing anything, like this is not productive time.
Mm.
And that's just like it over the years. I feel like I have been in phases where I would do that. No, I'm just like, I'm very conscious of it, and then when that happens, I'm just like, wait, stop. Like I need to figure out why this is happening and make sure that I can be more focused.
I think again the let's call it like media landscape or whatever, like social media landscape, whatever, is not because we're not a majority, like it's not people are not dedicate. I'm not saying dedicating your life, but they don't have like a main quest that they're working on. Usually they're just making sense of the studies. They've done some studies, and now they get a job, sometimes related to it, sometimes not, but still they just justify saying like, oh, yeah, of course, I mean, I have this job, I worked hard, I put in all these years in the university, or even before that, high school, and now I have this job. So then again, like, it's that narrative, like I'm supposed to have this, I'm supposed to have that, like
Right.
I need to buy a house, and so
Yeah.
so then you go on that quest.
Mhm.
But and so then the because these people, I mean, I'm saying like these people, but it's true. You hear like all these people like hating like Monday. Everybody has a thing about Monday.
That's the thing people bond over. I think.
There's a reason why that exists, right? It's and so then like you complain about Mondays, and then you go through the week, and then on the Saturday, Sunday, you just like blow like cash on whatever drinks or going out. And then they justify that too, because they said, oh, I work hard, so of course
It's a rhythm. I think people need rhythms, and that's just another rhythm for people.
To go back to the media, the social media landscape, so it's meant for like it's like pain relief for people, and it's not. So it is meant to not stop you from, but like to distract you, to kind of say like, hey, like to make you laugh, which is fine, I think, but I don't know. I also listen to sometimes like really like complicated philosophical discussions on the side, especially if I know what I'm doing, like I don't need to think too much. So that's also very interesting. But I know that consumes more energy from me, because my brain is thinking.
I prefer to go like, social media is like this. I think it's like this alien beast almost. It's got all, like a lot of it has got to do with how you engage with it, and I think it like it transforms as a function of like the quality of attention that you bring to it. So if I am dedicated, like if I'm actually like studying something, like if I'm actually like going to YouTube and I'm just like, I need to watch this video about observer theory and the the geometries of Platonic space, then I'm like giving it my 100% attention, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? I need to understand this, right? That's, I think that's when I feel like social media, if you want to even call it that at that point, like it's just, okay, here's this like source of abundance of information, right? Like knowledge, like it's all out there, you can just go and access it, right? But then there's the reverse of that, where like it's imposing itself on you, right? And I feel like all of us to a certain degree walk that we walk that boundary very carefully, and some do not, because like a lot of it is very like it imposes on you, right? And I think in that sense, social media can also be like this control mechanism, where it's just like it's like controlling like these narratives, stories that people are telling, right? And like injecting them into the substrate of biological human intelligence, right? And then vice versa, like it's also like going the other way around, where it's like feeding it back, right? And it's like in that there's this kind of like this weird kind of like goop that's formed, and it can grab you if you're not judicious with your attention. Basically. So I try to look at it that I don't want to demonize social media outright, like just like this thing,
Yeah, again, that's the thing, right? Like uh, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not like, like, I don't know. I'm not the best person to say like what to do about that. Like, I'm aware of the time that it takes from me, but at the same time, I'm the one doing it. It's not
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah. I
um,
think just being cognizant of that and like making sure that you have some amount
so
of agency and you're not giving
yeah.
that up, I think is the best
So
strategy.
this past Sunday, we had a discussion on we read the Jean-Paul Sartre's play called No Exit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about these three people who are in hell. It's like a room, and so the idea is, it became famous. I mean, the famous line from the play is, hell is other people.
Hmm. Whoa.
But it doesn't actually mean like, oh, like, just fuck everyone. Like, no, it's actually say that. It's actually saying, if like, the other's eyes actually uh, like make you form an image of yourself. Like
Right.
it has an impact on the way you form an image of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, and then what that does is that, so you have this, you get this invisible observer. You're like, oh, like, I'm being watched, and then you form your identity self, of like your idea of self, and then that idea of self is actually alienates you from yourself, like it's from your authentic
Whoa.
self, in a sense. So I mean, again, I'm kind of what I interpreted and what I, like, what we discussed, but I'm sure there are a lot of interpretations of that. But like, for example, my a student is learning French with me, and he studied philosophy when he was, but now he has a completely different day job, but he still studies philosophy as a very passionate hobby. And so the last lesson, what we did was, like, he was supposed to explain in French what the our South ideas, and we went through that, and he's brilliant, because he studied different philosophers, and so he know, like, and the way he, like, laid it out, it was amazing. Like, yeah, like starting from how the others have an impact on you, and then that in turn it creates, or you create an image of yourself from that, and then but then that image is alienates you from yourself, so it creates this tension within you. You are doing things, and but which I think another idea that Sartre came up with is bad faith. Bad faith means that you know that it's wrong or it's not true, but you still believe in it. It's it's just a story that you tell yourself. It's called,
Right.
he calls it bad faith. So, and he's the, so he's the one who said, like, the existence precedes essence. I don't know if you heard that.
Not.
It's
Yeah, I've heard of it.
so
But
it's that, like, you exist, and then you have to make sense of, you have to create meaning for yourself, right? But then, actually, what, like just the way you said, like, where the social media, I mean, humans feed social media, and then the social media feeds it back, and then so on, and it's just like there's this constant back and forth, and I feel like, yeah, there is this, the other, the eye of the other watching you, and then you form an idea of yourself, and then you actually, with your behavior and your actions, you feed it back to
yeah.
the people around you, or like something, and it just keeps going on, right? And then, but then you don't know how to. That's why, like, it's actually called No Exit. There's a reason, because well, there's a point where one of the characters who wants people to see him as a hero, but there's a girl, like, there's a woman who keeps calling him a coward, because he said he was a pacifist, but then he deserted an army, and he got shot and killed, right, for deserting the army, and so, and there's a moment. So actually, the door doesn't open because the valet brings them in, and he says, oh yeah, but there's a bell, and he says, yeah, but that bell works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the valet leaves, and it's just the three of them. And then there was a point of the play where the door actually opens, where he can actually, one of the characters, his name is Gaston, he can actually exit.
Hmm.
But he goes and and then when she goes, like the woman says, yeah, you can go, but you're still a cover to me, you know.
Hmm.
So, and he just said like, instead of like going out, yeah, I rather stay here because I don't know, I don't. He's like more worried about what they'll say behind his back, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and this is also something that the student told me, which again I feel like is kind of true. Whenever we think of people, we generally have one idea.
Hmm.
I know everyone is complex. We know that when, like for example, when we are talking, we kind of talk about different ideas and we learn more and more about each other, right? But I don't know. When I think of you, I'm sure I have a one sentence, like kind of idea,
Hmm.
and usually the thing is that you can change that with your actions, right? But the moment you die, you die with that image, right? The people, what is it, like, what are you remembered for, right? So yeah, so it was really interesting, like kind of doing, like thinking about that, and which again it goes back to my, because so because now we have a lot of people, so we separate in two groups. So in my group, because I was kind of I was moderating that, right? So I was asking people like, did you find any characters relatable? Because this Gassin, right, is kind of like me, because I like with like one of the family members that we often talk about is that there is this thing of like, oh, she sees me this way, but I'm not that, right? But then this I was even talking about this yesterday with another friend. It's like I want to tell her to like just fuck off. Like
Yeah.
I don't need your eyes. I've formed my own identity, but still there is that part in me that is like I cannot. Like
Let
I
go.
cannot confront that. I'm not saying like telling you necessarily to fuck off, but like I cannot confront that because I am a coward, right?
Hmm.
So then my student told me like, yeah, exactly, like you're like, if you don't get out of, you'll still be stuck in that like
Yeah.
the cycle, right? So, and then if you see yourself as a coward, and then so then you will act as a coward, and
Yeah.
then when you die you'll be seen as a coward, right?
Yeah.
So then like that's, so I'm going through that now. I'm like
That's
trying to
interesting.
yeah,
That's
so
really interesting.
yeah, so it's really because in the beginning when we read the play, it's a very short play actually. You can read it probably in an afternoon, and it's like a one act play. This is a one act, and I thought like, oh, this is interesting, but I don't know if it will make like for like a good philosophical discussion, and it did. It was we're like, it was really good. So we're kind of continuing our existentialism, our study into existentialism. So I think next we're trying to read like Albert Camus, because I'm reading again The Myth of Sisyphus, where that where he
Are you imagining him happy?
yeah, right. Again, I want to get to, because there are so many ideas that like each time you read that book you get something new, or like it's I don't know, it's really brilliant actually. So anyway, yeah, that's all I've been.
That's great,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's fascinating.
And that's how like discussions like this with friends, but also like just reading like philosophy and just in general like fiction, and kind of changing your, like not changing your ideas, but like yeah, just like keeping your like brain kind of like thinking about stuff. And I know people are reading because they're reading social media, like when you watch a reel you get captions, and captions are text that people are reading. But I think it's different than reading a book, where you're supposed to follow the reasoning, you're supposed to keep ideas, and even if you're reading a novel, right, you need to remember the characters, like what they're going through, their arcs, and so on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really like I found I'm really in this high of like books and ideas and discussions and philosophy at the moment. So No, I think I've always been in that, but yeah, I think just like it's always great when like you have that kind of discussion, and then suddenly it boosts your like yeah, your motivation, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a side of this where a lot of it just becomes like a chasing of highs, like and then the high goes away, and then you're waiting for the next hit. I try to like I've been trying to figure out how I can get past that also. And philosophy, like I love everything philosophy. Like I'm no expert in it. Like I'm not trained in it
No,
at all.
I'm not expert. Yeah.
And all the like growing up also, every time I would go to like philosophy, because like back home in school we were like asked to kind of like split between the humanities and the sciences, right? And I took the sciences, so like all of that realm of knowledge was just kind of like discarded, like oh, that's just for the other people, and I'm just like okay, fine, right? And then I'm like I'm not giving any of my attention to it. But I did have friends who were very much in that like thought cloud, and I would like every time I would go there and kind of like pick up all the books and everything. Whoa, dude, like what is this? Like just like at a textural level, right?
Yeah.
Not that I understood all of that heavy stuff. I was just like, wait, what are these guys talking about? And I used to find it really interesting. And I feel like every time now, like over the last couple of years also, philosophy is like kind of that's just like one layer of the equation, because like there's like there's you can go to the level of the spiritual and and beyond.
Oh yeah, I mean there are different types of philosophy, right? There's like even like there's even theological philosophy. There's like metaphysical, metaphysics
and like seeing all those like knowledge pools meet one another. That's been my most kind of like recent fascination, like seeing how all of these kind of pools of knowledge actually like sometimes diverge from each other, but also meet in all these interesting places. And I feel like that's something that I'm sure it existed before, but like now I'm thanks to the algorithm being able to find more of those connections, and that keeps me interested. That's one of the hooks I think the algorithm has in me. But to put them to practice, right? That's
actually
where
I'm very interested.
interesting.
I'm very interested in that. Yeah. Because it's great that you bring that up, because I like as I think even in these discussions, like whenever when we go to different places with ideas, I always want to bring it to like, okay, what does it mean for I mean, okay, first me, but also like people that are different. I mean, hopefully it's I know it's difficult to imagine like someone different, but if we can try, like, we can actually say like, and I think there's also a thing where, I also want to dive into ideas that I might not agree, I think just to see, because I think they all come, like you said, they all come from the good intentions in a sense, like to, because at the end of the day, like just like I say, oh, these authors or these philosophers help me, someone with the different like religious ideas or whatever, that it's helping them, right?
I now look at ideas as like they belong to these they're all equally valid, but they belong to different organisms of sorts, right? Like the more distanced two ideas are in thought space, the more antagonistic they might feel, but you can see that you can do that theory of mind thing where you can like go into the headspace of where these ideas feel and appear as profound truth, right? You can do this like with philosophy. You can also do this with like whatever the debates are, the current thing, whatever, like political narratives, all like that whole like all narrative produced by mankind, right? Like you can actually like move between these different zones almost, right? And I find that pretty like easy to do. I find it very easy to kind of like, okay, here's a set of ideas, here's a pool of ideas. I can see why this might make sense to someone, right? Like it's more a description of like the like where the ideas are coming from.
Yeah.
So you don't look at ideas as true or false. You look at them as like vectors to the source of wherever they're coming from, right? So like, and that's something that's kind of helped me more and more to bring it back down to the interpersonal, like actionable, practical applications of these things. It's like I would be like especially triggered when people would, confidently like put down ideas that I know are refuted if you ask someone else, right? Like if you just go from one place to another and like someone is like confidently holding on to some story or some idea, I'm just like,
Yeah.
have you spoken to those people who were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
on a completely different trip about
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
But like, obviously those two people aren't talking to each other. They're not in the same room. And I would just be very kind of like frustrated almost that, hey, like, I get it. You're really married to these ideas or whatever,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, they're like, you want me to meet you at that feeling place where we both feel these ideas to be true,
Yeah.
right? Which is something that I feel like I'm unable to do. So I get kind of like, taken aback by that. Now I think increasingly, as much as I do slip up with this,
Yeah.
now I kind of like hear people literally like there's like this screen almost, which is kind of filtering all of the information as like they're not even talking to me. They are just signaling. They're signaling to their projections.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's something really cool that happens, like the example that you gave before about the eyes, right? There's almost like a game that we are playing with really basically just ourselves and others. It really kind of like dissolves into this one thing if you kind of look at it at a philosophically or like a spiritually deep level, like the eyes being the windows to the soul, that idea. It's, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just gonna say this as plainly as I can. Okay.
Yeah.
You're actually like selecting between versions of people when you meet them, depending on like where you meet them.
Oh, for sure.
With eye contact.
Yeah.
The whole like the stance that you bring to your world simulation in general. Right.
That's what I'm saying. Actually,
Yeah.
you can you can almost skipping a few steps. Well, you can almost like mind control them to get a different side out of them. Like if people
Yeah.
are not static, right? There's a dynamic. Like
Yeah.
I think we talked about this. Like someone might behave differently with you than with me. Just because I don't know. I put out a different maybe energy
vibe,
so,
whatever it
yeah,
might be,
exactly.
yeah.
So then that makes them caliber or their own
Calibrated
energy and
differently, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
calibrated
yeah.
anyway. Oh yeah, totally. I was even going to say like I feel like when ideas are almost like I almost want to separate ideas from the human.
I'm at the opposite end of
so,
that. I'm just like,
yeah,
yes,
so
it's
I'm
two
like,
different
I think-
entities.
yeah. So, and I think we like when you talk about like philosophy and so on. I think like that's why I love stand-up comedy so much. At least the really best comedians are the ones who try to take like a really crazy stance. Like they say like, oh, like have you thought of like So then because you wouldn't have you wouldn't go to that space, but they take you like saying like this will be fun, and then you laugh, right? But then. And then you realize, like, wait, where am I? Like, I don't think I've been. I don't think I've never ever thought about these people, right? And I think the same thing with stories. Stories do that. Like, they take you with promise of like adventure and so on, and then you're suddenly, and then you go out. Like, I mean, get out, or you finish the book or the movie or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's like. I mean, of course, if you're sensitive to those things, you think about like it triggers something in you, and then you think about them. But yeah, I do. I am really in the like okay. For example, let's say we have a discussion. Let's let's say we're just like sitting and talking in a coffee shop like this, and there's a Trump supporter comes in and basically puts his ideas, right? To be honest, I'm the what normally people will do is like just like either walk away or kind of like reject and kind of like trying to. But I would say like like okay, let's listen to your let's hear your logic, like because I think it's almost like when in the business they say like, oh, ask the 5 why. I'm sure if you ask like why, okay, and he will give a reason, okay, why, and like oh, okay, why, and then like I want to actually kind of take them through, and I'm sure at some point it will come to a point where it's not logic but more like a experience where they'll say
almost always
I saw this one day, so then I formed this idea, right?
Because it makes me feel this way,
and trauma works like that, right? Like you go through something and then you form an idea, and that's how you function in the world. Like you build defenses around you. So then why don't we see everyone like that? Like, why don't we see Trump supporters as someone who's seen trauma, but then their way of kind of making sense of it is actually
Yeah.
going there. I'm not like, I think it's because people always say like, oh, we should all be able to discuss, and so that's bullshit. Actually, most people don't do that because
Most people don't do
yeah,
that.
most people don't do that, and I think like actually, if you for people who are listening or just in general, like how many people are you friends with that you actually disagree and you just go on like screaming discussion? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't.
I've hung out with people. It's just that this is because it's something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
Like I have always been. I've been reflecting on this, especially after the drama around like Tamashika that happened with the promotion and everything. I kind of like looked backwards into like what's the trauma that I am carrying, right? And I go back to like when I was growing up, I was in an environment where people had conflicting political views, and not just like out there in the world, but even just like around me. So I was like I was exposed to people holding on to divergent viewpoints, and I'm just like, I see what's going on here. I can accept my reality is people with different views, right? And it always felt like the game was to like pick a side, because everyone's like, you have to pick a side. And this example that you give, for example, where like someone who has some opinion that you might not feel strongly about, but you would like sit them down and like actually talk to them, and you would realize that you come to this point where there's experience and feeling that kind of arranges for the logic that answers all those whys, right? People don't usually go there. It's because I think a lot of that drama runs on ignoring the fact that we are this one body that is dealing with a lot of trauma, which creates these like divergent viewpoints, these different parties and different thought pools and everything, right, which are competing with one another. I've gone through so many episodes of expecting people to come to acknowledge that we do accept that we have different viewpoints, right, and that we're all trying to like work through them. That almost seems antithetical to the political enterprise in the example of politics, especially where the whole I feel like that whole system depends on us not having that conversation. We don't want to empathize with the outgroup. Like the idea of like, I'll tolerate anything but the outgroup.
Well, isn't it also? I mean, isn't it also like strange that you can only vote for one?
That like not even let's not even get into that.
And not to multiple people.
The point is, I feel like if you want to get into that whole thing, I feel like it's almost set up like we have invented systems to kind of like have an outlet for these traumas rather than to fix them, to address them.
Yes.
We've actually like created systems around them that like capitalism can juice out like our attention, our energy. That's the whole idea of like us being inside this kind of like loosh farm, right, with the archons taking our energy. But yeah, all that flowery language is there, but at the base level, it's almost like this kind of willful ignorance, right, which I think it permeates a lot of society.
It's bad faith. Is that because we know it's wrong. Like we know that actually I would say let's say we put two people who are like really like against each other, right? And then but once they have that initial like jabs and kind of like, I'm sure like they'll have to be forced to sit there and kind of like be like, okay, now what? Like, so then like, okay, then okay, do you have kids? Or like, and then you start about talking about like what it actually means to be human. Like,
right,
because
right.
now you are seeing, you're not seeing a person as a being having ideas. You're just seeing them as ideas.
Right.
But that's not true, because those ideas change because people change.
Exactly.
And
ideas own people almost at one level, and we reduce we kind of like abstract out the humanity in the other person or the outgroup itself and like associate it with the label, right? But this is like an activity that is so socially engineered and programmed, and there's so much positive reinforcement for that activity of dehumanization, really. Like that's what a label, I think, does. Like that's what ideas are capable of doing, especially the ones that are easy to spread and very sticky. That act in itself, I feel like, is like a it's in mimetic space, in idea space, that is murder. That is, you are taking away the humanity of other living, breathing human beings, right? And I feel like this is just something that, like, you can't question this almost. You can't, like, oh, are you empathizing with the fundamentally evil outgroup? Are you are you part of the fundamentally evil outgroup?
Yeah.
Like, it's like that move is not allowed. That
Yeah.
move is not allowed. It's like if I'm in like Nazi Germany or whatever, in the like the conversation of like, hey, can we just like stop fighting and make friends and like diffuse all of this tension and make sure that World War II doesn't happen or something? Like that's absurd. Like that's idealism taken to its logical extreme, right? It's like
I think the I mean, what we see outside in the world that is playing out is our internal conflict. I don't think there's anyone in this world, like even the most enlightened human beings. You have conflicting thoughts, right? So if you have conflicting ideas and thoughts, it's actually not logical to expect it in the outside world, like to have everyone having the same idea like that. Actually, that's the dangerous part, where like everyone has the same ideas, is wearing the same clothes or listening to the same you know. So we almost like get shocked when someone is different, but then you have to kind of accept that, you know,
I think that's the radical acceptance there.
no,
Then
that,
like
that,
it's
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying as if like, I will. I don't know. I'm in that space, especially if that person, like, you know, is not going to like kind of grab a gun and kill me, where like it stops from me being active. Of course, like, you know, that's not that then. There's no this thought experiment doesn't work there, but if it's actually a person who is there and kind of like wants to change me, and I'm like, yeah, this is me, like, and then I understand that this is you. Okay, so what are we talking about? You know, like that kind of
yeah.
So I yeah I like you said, it's, I think, the systems, the need for simplification and labeling. We've created the systems, and then we want to reward these systems with our behavior, and then that playing out. So for example, like, if someone actually comes to me and actually has a conversation, and we manage to continue that conversation, not even like resolve it, right? Like just continue and being like, okay, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And that's actually a really healthy thing to happen, right? But then what people will usually do is they will just make a reel and then edit it in a way where it's like, that's, you know, so algorithm is good, but then the interpretation of the algorithm by humans or capitalism or like that, where everything becomes a sales pitch, or everything is set up to sell something, whether it's ideas or
Attention.
Yeah, like for example, like the reel will start with someone getting angry, so then you stop and watch the reel, you want to know where this is going, right?
Yeah.
So
The hypnotic pull of the
the
narrative
hook.
build up
Yeah,
and payoff.
the hook, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
The opiate
so-
of the masses.
So yeah, if you're talking to people to get that hook, you're never going to see them as equals, right? Like you're always seeing them.
That's not the point. Yeah.
As someone like less intelligent, and then like you are lefty, so you've read Marx and blah blah blah, and then so suddenly you're more clever than these people, and that happens all the time. Like it happens with tourists and Thai people, right? Like tourists come here, they think like they're like the super clever, and Thai
Yeah.
people, because they're dumb because they can't speak English or some whatever.
Yeah.
You know. So
Everyone has like some kind of like narrative framework that they
Yeah.
use or
Like-
subscribe to.
Yeah, what happened to you that you are trying to tell these stories to you to make yourself feel better? Like that's like how
But it, like, like everyone's doing that, though.
everyone's doing it,
Right,
yeah.
but like if you go one level deeper, like there's a quality to these stories, right?
Yeah.
There is a certain like affect, and I call it valence, right? There's a feeling state that is enabled or allowed to be expressed with certain shapes of narratives, right? And you can see where you are on that, on that spectrum by like you can just catalog all the ideas that you subscribe to, and then do like this mathematical reduction of like, okay, here's where I am in idea space, right? And like I do the reverse of that too, where like if somebody comes to me and they have like a very charged kind of like emotional response to something, I'm just like, okay, like this person is obviously kind of like broadcasting the places where they're kind of like attached to certain ways of thinking or ideas or whatever, right? And before I would like take that as truth, even for myself, where I'm just like, I believe in this, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm essentially broadcasting to myself that I'm attached to or stuck in all these like different places. This is I think the algorithm sees this one for one, right? Like some reel that has an angry person make a statement and then kind of like give a payoff. That reel in itself, or the person making the reel who's uploading it, you take that out of the equation and you just put that as this like narrative nugget that's in the idea
Yeah.
space.
And-
It's
yeah.
it becomes the electromagnetic kind of
Yeah.
like pull of everyone who wants to associate or feel with that feeling.
Yeah.
And then that's how it draws the likes and becomes an attention
wanna,
sink.
Yeah, I want to have that critical compassion where like because it's kind of almost adorable. I know that it's a very naive of me because I've never been to the US, I've never interacted with these people, I've never been actually physically close to them and so on, right? But whenever I see like someone, again, I'm saying this because I've come across these reels where people go to these rallies and interview them about their ideas and then kind of make them feel stupid, right? Kind of saying like, oh, like look how stupid you are, you can't even justify it. But for me, I think they forget that there's another, or so many layers, but then another layer that I see is these are people looking for a community. Like,
Yep.
they want to get together and
Baseline
drink beer together,
Maslow's
or
triangle
like,
stuff,
just like
yeah.
do barbecue and then like
Yeah.
just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're wearing Trump thing, but it's just a way to
Yep.
express that saying that in a way, like, I'm lonely, like just I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
And if all it takes is for me to say these things, yeah, I'll say them, and then slowly as you say them, you believe in them, and then you become something different than what you were, right?
Right.
And so yeah, so okay, so then people will say like, yeah, but so then you support Nazis, and I'm like, yeah, but let's talk about that. Like, let's just say actually someone who's actually just declares himself as a Nazi, right? And then and he's just in front of me and we're talking, and well, first of all, like saying that he doesn't deserve like human interaction is actually, it will only make him like worse,
Yeah.
So then like what or like, yeah, I don't know, he will just start seeing like, it will just feed his ideology, right?
Right.
So then but because you've seen that I don't know if you heard about that documentarian, I think her name is Zaya Khan, or she did documentaries about the KKK, and she's actually just she would just talk to them about like normal people. They would be like,
Yeah.
why do you do this? And, like,
Yeah.
and then they also talk back, and then suddenly they're like,
Oh my God.
you're
Human
just a
beings.
human, like, yeah, like why
Wow.
why am I hating you? And then,
Yeah.
and then she actually managed to bring some of them out of that, like they
Yeah.
left the clan.
Yep.
So, and there's also a story of like I think he was on Joe Rogan's podcast like a long time ago. This musician, he was like I think a jazz musician, and he managed with his music like managed to bring some people out of the clan because they loved his music so much, and they said like, how can someone who gives me so much joy, how can I hate someone who gives me so much joy, right? And
Yeah.
like imagine that, like like that music did more than
That's
just
amazing.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like the music just like kind of. So I'm just saying it is.
What you're
I
describing is something that is so deep, man. It is
no
so.
no what I mean I of course I would love it for it to be like a project where there's actually in the beginning it sounds scary and threatening, where for example if I start a group, just like I have a philosophy group and like other meetups, like if I have a group where we're actually just basically open for discussions, and bring your facts, bring your things, and then let's talk it out. I don't know, I don't think there are any groups like that that exist.
But that's I think it's antithetical to the definition of what a group is, because I
Yeah.
think groups meet at a certain frequency. I feel like that's what this is how I understand mimetics. It's like how if ideas had a physical kind of script that they were following, groups in a sense are creating a kind of gravity that allows for a certain kind of narrative to exist. So like what you're describing, where there's a group that's like working to bring together ideas that are are divergent, that would be like some next level engineering, right? Just to kind of like
No, I mean, I'm saying like just organizing like meetups that basically, brings people to discuss ideas. Um, this also happens to me, like because like there was someone who was kind of like, to be honest, like it was annoying. I think he came in drunk to the philosophy meetup a little bit, and he just like was kind of talking over people and so on, and so my first reaction is like, the next time he comes, like people, I'm sure people had that in mind, like, oh, next time he comes, Boris should like not let him allow it. But I'll be like, no, like I think this is what actually living in a society means. This is actually society kind of playing out its impact on
Yeah.
this group.
Yeah.
When there is someone like this, you work with them. You kind of try to, and okay, if you really feel that like all they care about is actually dominating the group instead of
Yeah.
just being part of the discussion, then okay, then we can all make a decision. But then I don't know. I'm all for giving people chances. That's what I'm trying to actually say. But and that's what I'm saying. It is low risk. It's just a conversation. Yes, we will have, our hearts might race, and then we might feel like kind of like angry and frustrated. But that's just a way to that's just the way to like to deal with that. And then you go back, and then you cool down a bit, and then you come back and you have that conversation again, and then slowly suddenly like like it's not emotional anymore. You go, I mean, I'm not saying we are all emotional creatures, but you become more comfortable, and you suddenly start kind of looking at how the other person feels, and suddenly slowly, like because we have a person like that already in the philosophy, where he would take us into tangents, like, and then but he's nice because he listens to us, and he's like so he's been part of the group for years, right? So and I love that, like I love the fact that and what I'm also realizing is that all these meetup groups, whenever I do activities like this, because everyone is in the spectrum in some way or another, but I think we are like weirdos, kind of like trying to do things together. So it will happen, like and so I'm also thinking about like those people is like, oh, like what we are talking about here, and I think even me, I have my quirks and I have my things, but I don't know. I guess like me trying to include other people is me wanting to be included in other groups, right? So I think that's that's also what I'm trying to do. And then now I'm thanks to the podcast and like conversation and so on. Now I'm in a place where I feel I can just talk to anyone, right? Not in a, oh, I know better than you kind of thing. Like I'm like, hey, like so what are you up to? Like, well, and I feel like unless they talk about something completely like out of my, like, I don't think I can run out of things to ask them about, right? So then, and generally people like that. People want to be heard. People want to be seen. So I don't know. Because we talked about high. Yesterday I was just telling my friend that when I moved to Bangkok, and when I realized that Bangkok gives me this feeling of being invisible, so then I can just put on any role and just try different roles. I feel like I'm still running on that high. It's been 11 years, so I'm still running on that high of Bangkok is feeding me this. I think it's also me, right? I formed this idea of Bangkok. I'm kind of projecting it on Bangkok, and then Bangkok is kind of feeding it back to me, and then we have this relationship where it's this living thing with different parts that are people and companies and shops and 7-Elevens and stuff like that. I don't know. I just like it. I think it just makes me. Thai people keep me humble, kind of like, and I think it's amazing. Sorry, I don't know where I'm going with that.
No, I love that feeling too.
Yeah.
I have that feeling too, and I think I've lived in places where I've like felt like an alien.
Yeah.
And there's some very cool kind of like calm that I get from it, which is like at this point it's like second nature to me. Like I need that feeling of like I don't know some measure of invisibility.
Yeah.
Because like growing up in India, I was the opposite of that.
Which again, it goes back to that eye, right? The eye of Sauron was. I think it's like when you. I mean, it's not because we are imagining these things. So when you feel that the shackles are off, like when you're you're not being watched, then you have more ways to express your freedom. And then kind of. And you never know who you are, right? You never know. We call it the authentic self, but that's just an idea. Maybe in a few years, you'll look back and say, like, actually, this is my authentic self, and then it changes, right? So, but what we need is the choice, the freedom of choice to try different things and try.
But doesn't it come down to like people? Like the only thing that's really out. Like I feel like there's a flip side to this, where over the years I've realized that it's like you are other people in a sense, like that if you're looking for an authentic self, it will be like through the connections that you make that are more authentic to you. Right, which I guess, like for example, you have with your philosophy meetup group. Sounds like, right? Like you connect with people there, right? I found over the last couple of years, having lived in Hong Kong and then traveling and like staying in Japan, coming back to Bangkok, and only seldom going back to India, I'm in this weird place where like that thing exists for me, but it's like completely parasocial online, like in the digital realm, which is like not even fully human, right? It's like part synthetic, and the way that is programming my mind, right? And to come back to the ground, like over here, like talking to you, like going to the few meetups that I might go to, and like the few people that I know here, and like actually talking to them face to face. Those two different worlds, I feel like they define me in this weird sort of way. Because I as much as like for example, like being at home in India for me was completely like different, like growing up, right? Where like I felt like I'm part of this structure, I'm part of this, from family to society to like from school to like college, everything, like all of that whole pyramid, right? It never felt like I belonged there. It never felt like it's like leading me to a place where I want to get to. Like how like people point to like, hey, you can get here or you can get here or whatever. You can make this out of your life or that out of your life. And I'm just like, man, I'm just not seeing any of these. Like this doesn't feel like me.
Yeah.
And I think since then I've just been like in places where I don't have to fit into a structure like that. The flip side of which is, man, you have to figure out what that is for you.
And like you said, I think you felt that way, but I'm sure like a lot of people might feel like, oh, that's my support system. Like I wanna, I love the fact that I'm in the structure. I have people behind me. But yeah, I'm saying me it was the same. I've also felt that way.
Not having a support structure is like
I've
it's a hard
always
mode
kind of almost
play.
um, it kind of sounds really bad to say, but like yeah, I've always almost like tried to stay away from uh, not I was going to say family, but in a sense, yes. Like I wanted to. I don't know. It's not. It was not intentional, but like yeah,
Same here, bro.
yeah. It's.
But here's like you don't
yeah.
really run away from
What?
it.
Yeah.
You just keep seeing versions of it. Like you're like
Sure,
we are
sure.
inside
Yeah, yeah, and
that system.
yeah, and it's not. I wonder like yeah how did that happen? Maybe it's just the exposure to foreign media and then getting like having an education that was Western, like Western education, and then
For me, it was just like clearly the
media.
things that inspired
I
me
don't know
were
what that
always
is.
foreign.
Yeah.
They were always foreign. Even growing up, like having access to the internet, I was just like I was watching that story, not the story that was playing at home, not the
Yeah.
story that was playing on the TV,
Yeah.
but the story that was playing out there, which was so like divided and far out, right? Like I'm following
But-
people on the internet who are
Yeah.
making video games. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, you can do this. Like I want to do this too. But like the support system at home, the best that it did for me, and I'm grateful for that. But outside of that, they were just like, dude, we don't know what this thing is. Like we can't promise you if this is going to give you a life where you will have safety, security, respect, and status. I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go find out, I guess. You know.
Yeah, that's great. I think that I also feel that was also important for me because I wanted to. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I just loved stories. So I know that I wanted to be some sort of storyteller, even though back then I didn't know that term storyteller, right? Like, because I would just fill notebooks with like just random stories that I would never finish, or sometimes I'll finish and then like I'll start drawing some characters here and there. You know how like like a lot of artists share that thing. But yeah, I totally I totally get it, and I don't think it's you know, we put this separation, but at the end of the day, yeah, I think they're just operating on a different area, and then, but then there is space for both, right? Like for example, I am watching weird Tamil comedy clips from movies, but at the same time, I can read like something completely complex. But I need both. Like I need that kind of like just to laugh and kind of like see the stupidity. But at the same time, philosophers are also kind of like trying to do that. Like they're trying to see like what is like yeah like they're trying to like model the world, right? Like there's a and this is like this is one of my like all time like impactful graphic novel that someone gave me. It's called Logi Comics. I've talked about this in many podcasts, but like there's a moment in so Logi Comics is basically it's like a meta story where actually the graphic novel is about Bertrand Russell, the logician, mathematician, and about his life. But at the same time, it's about the people doing the comic. And they are in the comic, like kind of like so like behind the scenes. There's like a like a so, and so there are the cutbacks to from stories to the actual people working on it, and then goes back to the story they're telling and so on. And then there comes a moment when they question like why do all these geniuses, like these really clever people, go mad, or like they're kind of lose touch with reality and so on, right? And then there's a moment when they are in Athens, and the guy says like, "Oh, I know the way. Like, there used to be a coffee shop. If I can get there," and then he sees the map and he says like, "Oh, like yeah, the coffee shop is here. So if we go here, I know my way from there," or something like that. Like, and then so they follow the map and they go there, and the shop is not there, right? And then he just gets his aha moment, kind of like. We humans constantly try to model reality through maps, calculations, measurements, whatever, like, drawings. But then reality just keeps changing, right? But so what happens is that sometimes creates this disconnect of these geniuses trying to model reality, and then it just escapes. Reality just escapes, right? So then, I mean, again, I'm leaving out a lot of parts, but I think that, I don't know, I when, and in that moment left a really big impact on me. I still remember it like now, right? So, I just feel like that's what everybody is doing. That you model your reality, you justify reality, you make sense of reality through ideas or through sentences. Because you know because you can't, for everything you can't come to like a reasoning or a logical reasoning. Like for example, you can't look at a chair and say, I feel like sitting, this is called a chair, if I go there and sit, like, no, you just you know that it's a chair, it's meant for, and because that's how we function, right? We have these ideas, prefixed ideas about objects that we apply to the world, and that explains why, like, you know, when you see someone, you immediately form an idea of who they are. You don't even know their name, you don't know anything, right? You don't know their voice, you don't know, and then you immediately form an idea. That idea is only broken, like, let's say you are both waiting in the dentist, like, waiting room, right? You immediately you have an idea of that person, whoever it is, like, oh, you must be like this. Unless that you talk to that person and actually get to know them, that the idea that you had is that, like, if they go out and then they die, that's the idea. Like, that's how they die in your head, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's what I'm saying, is that, yeah, I think we have to be aware of our greatness, but also of our limitations. I think at the same time, like, accept our greatness just the way we accept, like, our weaknesses, is what I'm trying to say. Like, and just because, like, someone, like, declares himself as a Nazi doesn't mean that he's weaker than someone who's declaring himself as the savior. Oh, I'm right because I have these ideas that I think are better for this world, right? But if you just like to go back to the idea of ideas being separate from, like, the human being, think about nature. Do you think nature is, like, looking at us like, look at these people, like, what is, oh, this is a flag, or this is, oh, this is a nation, this is a color, or they're made up languages, they're made of nothing nothing matters, right? Like, so I feel like, yeah, we just have to be, and we can't do that because it's almost like existential horror. Like, if you actually break yourself down, sometimes people don't have the strength to build themselves back up.
You cannot do that. Yeah.
And you need that. Again, environment is what you build. Like, I think I talked about that in the. So I think you need to have. It's not, and I don't think, like you said, like, if you really see the world in a certain way, just like I saw Bangkok a certain way, it like, for example, that actually manifests, right? So then you show up, and then other people show up. Then, like, you know, people like Nirut, or, like, you know, they show up, and then they're like, and then suddenly you're like, oh, actually, you know, it's like, I've through my actions, I've told people that I want this, and whenever they like the idea, they join in, and then
the idea changes eventually too,
yes,
right? That's the key word here. It's action, right?
So,
like, you have a certain map, you have a model, you act depending on that model, and then that model changes.
I would even say, like, again, to go back to the Trump supporter and so on, they might say things, but have you really followed them and actually see what they do? They're probably just going there, taking care of their garden.
Yeah.
Like, they're maybe talking to their mother, and then, like, they probably have a dog, and they're feeding their dog or cat. But you'll see, like, they'll say things, but are they really acting on it? Because it takes really courage to align your ideas and your actions, because most people don't do that. Most people will say things. Actually, most of the time they'll say things because they cannot do them.
Yeah.
Or people are just doing them, right? Like, so,
right.
I don't know. I really
Ideas are, in my head,
Yeah.
the way I look at it, ideas are the real organisms. Like what we call ideas are organisms in the noosphere. They are organisms that go like that operate from on top of the material, right? And they are the ones that are real, right?
Yeah.
Like they are the ones that actually have agency and control that is exhibiting on this plane. And I don't know why I would love to explore this, but like I find it very easy to like dislodge the human from the idea, right? Because I think it's the like ideas have so much momentum, so much inertia, so much strength that it actually people, how people say Nazi or whatever, oh, that person's the Nazi or whatever, right? It's just like, okay, not a good person or bad, that it's just a synonym at this point, where it's just like that's the outgroup of all outgroups, right? I'm like, okay, sure. Like if like the is it the Peterson said this, I think, where it's like if we were in Nazi Germany, we would all fall for that, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you would have to be the contrarian of all contrarians,
and you'll be killed if
and you would be you would be solving for
Yeah.
extermination
Yeah.
if at that point you were just like, no.
Yeah.
Most people would not do that. You would have to be crazy to
Yeah.
do that, right?
Yeah.
So like if you look at it that way, it's just these ideas that are kind of gaining momentum through the humans, right? And to call like one kind of like human who's like very much like not on top of the stack calling the shots and just kind of like playing the game of picking the tribe, I'm just like, dude, sure, play your game. I'm not going to like understand you through that one label that you have selected for yourself or whatever. It's just like, yeah, okay, fine, you have a certain opinion. That's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Because like the game that's actually being played is like the agency that you can exert over like this thing that's playing out in front of you, and that's happening at like these like levels up top.
Yeah.
Right. And this is not saying that, oh, it doesn't matter, right? That, oh, what ideas you might or might not have. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I am saying is that you have to kind of like understand the dynamic that is playing between the material and the layers on top, right? Like,
so you feel like it's like kind of like signals that we are kind of catching and then interpreting, because again we can go into like a little bit more like because I talked about this, right? Like sometimes I don't know where the ideas come from. Yes, there's a inner logic to it, where like I don't know, 2 + 2 4, so then like this happened, so then this happened, and I'm like oh, okay, maybe it's this, right? And that depends on what kind of person I've spent my time being.
yeah.
Because if I spend my time being if I identify myself as conservative, then I don't know, like I will probably see things in that way, like
People are like ultra complex, right? They have different experiences and
right,
traumas,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like you look at language,
yeah.
right? That is like narrative is causality at one level, right? It's like we put together reason and logic or whatever, and like make deductions, right, or whatever, and then we
But
arrange
after the
them.
fact.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like oh, here's a narrative, or here's a set of symbols and labels that we've put together that you can kind of like vibe with. Like you're
Yeah.
actually selecting a narrative is selecting you,
Yeah.
and then that's how these groupings form, right?
Yeah.
Like now I want to think about myself. What am I? Conservative or liberal? It's just like, oh, great dichotomy right there to be like reduce the complexity that exists within me into these two labels, and then the machinery that we have set up is actually encouraging that that complexity reduction, which is happening at like.
And also seeing it as a group is is kind of like an abstract way of seeing, because that
You have to understand, like,
because
language
at the end
is
of the day, yeah, when you're talking to the individual, yeah, it
that's something
changes.
completely different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the abstractions that we use to kind of like comprehend our reality are obliterating. Like they are literally, it's a massacre if you look at it, right? Like language itself is just going and like cutting up reality in all the wrong places, right? And that's like, you have to understand that first of all that is happening. Like once you actually like accept that is happening, then you kind of like see the mechanisms that are allowed through that butchering that is taking place, right? And that's how I look at like a lot of these mechanisms that are playing out, and the way I'm playing them out for me, right? Like I look at people who have a certain viewpoint or a certain idea or a certain kind of feeling, uh, they're all kind of like operating on them at a certain level, right? Like you arrange a set of facts that
Yeah.
kind of produce a certain feeling,
Yeah.
and then you see how that becomes this like almost like a solidification in idea space, and then you like propagate that, and it literally it forms a gravity around it. It literally pulls people into it. And as it does that, as it draws more attention, you this is what I see, okay? Like this is the language that I have to describe it.
Yeah.
Around it, like there's this field that gets created which pulls more attention into it. And that literally morphs reality, right? It literally like takes the past and the future, and like it modulates it to fit into its field, right? And then you have a group of people, and now you have an ideology, now you have a movement, now you have all these like different labels that come together to help people identify with one another. And that's like a feeling space really being created to pull conscious agents, humans, whatever you want to call them, into its sphere. And as that happens, lo and behold, there is the outgroup doing the same thing that is kind of like forming around it, right? And I think like if you look at social media from that perspective, it's just like fabricating more of these to pull attention into like into it, right? It's like literally reality almost feels like it's solving for more ways to like pull attention, right? In different, like can attention be pulled in this way? Like can we start a new movement with this new flag that tells history this different way, and proposes a different future, and draws a line between us and versus the thems, and the thems are those people, and it gives you like these list of things that you can call the thems, and how bad they are, and how morally right you are, and like everyone's feeling feelings together. That's really just what the species is doing at scale. Like I feel like all of the morality, ethics, and everything are a product of those language games that are being played inside these organisms that I have described, right? Those are the ones that are modulating different realities itself, right? Where people have a sense of right and wrong, good and bad, and all of that, right? But that's the actual mechanism. And I mean, if you really want to get into it, that mechanism is actually not in time. Like this is just something that like feelings don't exist in time, they just exist. Right? And like we are having this kind of like experience as souls that have incarnated into bodies, right? And we're kind of like feeling those feelings together. This is how I see like the situation, at least where I come from, right? Like if I look at the history that they don't keep changing all the time, behind it is this thing called the partition, for example, that India went through, right? Like literally like the definition of that place is kind of like built on that scar, right? Where millions of people died. I don't know exact numbers, but it was a bloodbath, right? Like we literally like that's like the genesis block of the identity, right? And I'm just like looking out into the world, I only see partitions now. I only see the different groups. I go to I do business in America. It's like Republican, Democrat, left, right, LGBTQ, trans, MAGA. There's all these like different organisms that are like almost they're fabricated to compete with one another, right? But like if you look away from there, these are just language games. These are just like these are games that are being played in the noosphere, right? And down on the ground, you can choose to look at that guy who's a Trump supporter, but they're just like feeding their dog and taking care of their family,
but
it's all happening.
That's very like
Sorry if I got too technical, but that's just like what my brain looks like from the inside.
Well, that's interesting. So then because there is this, I know like it people will say, because we talk about the algorithm, we talk about of course capitalism, and the capitalism is pulling the algorithm in a certain sense, but at the same time, like for example, like okay, for example, right, let's take it at like a very basic level, like people will say people are forced to earn a certain amount to survive, right? And this is going to be a really stupid question, but some will say you don't have a choice, but I don't know. Sartre says there is always a choice, but I'm very careful with this, because there is a part of me that yes believes that there is a choice, but I think for Sartre, like my student told me, it's all about decisions, not consequences. So he's not really worrying about the consequences. It's talking about decisions, like, which means like you can decide not to make money, and actually keep your dignity, your time, your whatever, your sanity, whatever that you feel you're losing to capitalism, right? But then but in like actual like day-to-day reality, like that's not like, yeah, you will just starve, you become homeless, right? And even if you become homeless, you'll be begging for food and kind of like have to find a place to sleep and find shelter, like that kind of thing. So there are these there are these ideas that are like kind of like I feel like there are these ideas that are floating around, almost like we're catching it like Wi-Fi, kind of like in the air, and then I feel like we are interpreting them on an individual level, and I think both like groups have both this. It's never good or bad, right? Because the groups, yes, they give you a sense of belonging, but then the group, then there's this. I mean, I don't want to use groupthink because I know that it's from Orwell, but I almost forgot what the exact meaning was, so I don't want to. But it just popped in my head. But at the end of the day, I think like, yeah, I don't know. I think we have to. I guess it goes back to something that, again, it's really sad to see the downfall of Jordan Peterson, but in the beginning he was really putting out really great ideas. He was saying like you're part of this group, but you also have to recognize that you're an individual, right? And I like that. The maturity to be able to keep two ideas, not contradictory, but two ideas in the head at the same time, because you need to know that you are an individual that is part of this group. Again, to go back to that I analogy, like the group, you kind of form the idea that the group is watching you.
Yeah.
Right. So, but at the end of the day, like I think like, yeah, I guess we're just like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know, dude. I what you just said, I just don't know.
I'm just like I feel like
you're inviting
we're
a crazy kind of schizophrenia, right? By saying that you can kind of like hold contradictory ideas.
Yeah.
So I honestly, in my experience, and I mean, I can answer this for myself if I gave myself enough time to like reason through it or feel my way through it. But I honestly feel like this place is not solving for holding a cognitive dissonance in any way. Or if it is, then you're going to have to like really see for yourself where you land up, because I think most of experience is solving for holding ideas very strongly and propagating them and kind of like finding your sense of belonging through that.
But and also I think like it's like kind of like having those ideas that create this tension within you, but then it's not like you solve, but you actually you become strong enough in your head to wrestle.
Oh boy,
with these two ideas.
Dude, like holding competing ideas. I mean, I'll say I enjoy it. I do it out of habit.
I'm saying this, but then I feel like I hold that competing ideas, but to my detriment, right? Like where it's actually not good for me.
Yeah, I know. You're not solving. So, like, if you're solving for belonging, if you're solving for thriving or whatever, I don't know. There's many words that you can use to describe what that is. It's like you're going in the direction of looking at competing ideas and being like, oh, why do these competing ideas exist? Right? Like, why are like how can we believe in such different things, right? Versus believing one thing so blindly. Right, and kind of like creating that it almost creates that wormhole of like feeling where like you feel one thing very strongly and like everyone's like, yeah, I feel that feeling too, and everyone's like, yeah, I feel that feeling too, and then everyone's feeling feelings together, and now you have a nation or something. Right, like that's just like that. I feel like that's one modality, and the other modality is to kind of like zoom out of it, like to always be able to like climb out. But here's what I feel. Just to get into the gritty, like I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
That mental move of holding two ideas and not like giving yourself that just like that space to be with that one idea. You like with nothing coming in the way, right? That, do you feel that move, that mental motion itself is coming from a feeling state, or not unwilling to feel a feeling, an unwillingness to feel a feeling? It's like, and I feel like, just to play devil's advocate on my own self, I feel like that's happening because I am rejecting reality at some level. Like I am refusing reality itself. That's what it feels like. Because I that's
think,
not what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. And
Do you feel
in a sense, isn't like even the one of the something considered really positive, like something like hope, isn't it also like kind of like a crushing of reality? Like if you, because you wouldn't have hope if you just accepted the current reality, right? Like what is hope actually?
Yeah.
I mean, is
It's
so
like faith,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
There
there's
is,
some measure
so
of faith in that.
I do agree that I think I'm constantly telling myself a story that is not. Yeah, is like I see I see the reality in a certain way, but then a part of me is saying like, oh, I want to change this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's tricky. It's very tricky. I think those dissonances exist as like some kind of like a problem solving that we're doing out of maybe conditioning or habit or whatever. And I think there's a space where you kind of integrate that. You come to a place where it's not something that's pulling your energy out. You can still hold them. You can still hold competing ideas, but it's not dragging your attention into opposite directions. There's a way to hold competing ideas that kind of like belong in a whole,
Like
and that whole is like
again I go to that the example of that the family member that thinks that I mean, again, I don't think she actually expressed that in that way, but I think I don't even know if she still had the same ideas about me, but like then like it's almost like almost like to summarize, it's like she's kind of like almost saying you're wrong, right? Like, the life you lead is wrong, and then and then I'm like saying no,
that's just something that is, that's why it's still drawing attention from.
But then in my head it's like whenever I feel that I suffer something, it goes into that place of like, am I wrong? Or like, why am I feeling this? Because I made a mistake. So then like, and so I'm kind of validating
that person,
right? And but at the same time, if it's the other way, like when it's all going like, I mean, it's not like, when I'm able to just do what I do, just like this, like, doing something like just like recording conversations and just having really great conversations, like this is like, there's no like, we're not thinking about
anything.
Like I mean, in the business sense, we're not like building a brand, or we're not, kind of segregating our efforts in like kind of like aiming at something. I don't know. I mean, again, when we started doing this, it was just a way to capture the conversations, because I think I also listen to these conversations back, and like sometimes I'll just be sitting and I'll just listen. I'll be like, dude, like this is, and I can't sit still. I have to walk around and like think about like, oh, what did Vidvat say there? Like, or like even me, like sometimes I'll listen to myself like going someplace and I'll be like, oh my god, like, okay, that's like, I can't believe I went there, right? So
right. And it just like, I think what you're saying is the contrast of that space with you having that argument with that family member in your head saying that one thing about you, right? I have the same thing, right? And I can tell you like that's it's very easy to map those different zones that you go to in your head, like that family member or whatever they said that kind of like keeps coming back into your attentional field is really it's doing an operation on you. Like there's something that's like that's holding your attention there, which I feel like is a call to action. Actually, it's actually like an affordance, and I think like the act of going from there to saying here, like talking, having conversations that you enjoy, like enjoying your life, doing something challenging, doing something great. You can see those two, like you see those two modalities, right? It's almost like you kind of like find a way to drive through, to a place where that that thing that keeps coming back to block you from being in the flow you kind of integrate it, like you consume it almost, like you see it for what purpose it was serving, right? And then like you can work backwards from there and understand what it is, what was that thing that was trying to kind of get a version of you out of you, right? So like integrating the shadow, this, that, like, I think those are just like, different ways of describing that same thing. Like in your simulation, those things keep coming up because you haven't kind of like made a move on the board. Does that make sense? Like, and I've been looking at those for me too, because I also have people, friends, family, acquaintances that have like said things to me that have kind of stuck in my head, and they keep coming back.
Ultimately, it's because we do care about those people. So then it, because otherwise if I didn't care and someone said that I wouldn't.
It wouldn't have stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and then you kind of like realize that version of that person that keeps coming up who's saying that thing. You can change it. You can literally like, you can take the dial and you can like turn the dial. Like, how before we discussed how like the eye
but
contact.
it's also, but I think I need, that's what I'm saying, like I need to confront, like I need to put, like I need to have at least like attempt like at a conversation where with that person, right? Kind of like say like, I feel like you feel this way about me. I mean, I don't know, like, so again, there's a way, that's something that I'm trying to improve now is not actively, but like I really want to, because I feel like I'm good at like just organizing ideas or like kind of analyzing and stuff like that, but I think communication is something that I'm trying to work at, which is like,
do you feel like you're not aggressive enough?
Actually I don't think I am. I can change the. Actually, no, it's not true. I think when I become aggressive, I feel bad. Like for example, an example is like for example in the philosophy group, this guy was like kind of being annoying and kind of so I've kind of warned him several times, like, hey, can you please let people finish and then you can react later,
right?
Because he's operating like he's talking like one-to-one. Even when we are talking one-to-one, we rarely talk over each other, right? But sometimes people tend to do that when you're like talking to one-to-one, like where like the person will say and before they finish their thought, you jump in and so. But he was doing that in a group discussion. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like you raise your hand and you wait and you'll get your turn, because whoever wants to speak needs to speak, and then so that we can have a really good group discussion. But there was a moment when he was just basically saying some like just random facts about Sartre, which is great, but it's not helping with the discussion. So then I kind of like said like, yeah, so, and he said like, okay, like I don't know how this is related, but and I said like, yeah, but then think about how it's related, and until you find that, just let's go back to so that kind of. But
I think some people don't hear you when you say it like that.
I did that in an aggressive way, right?
Was that aggressive? Like like there is
the way I'm telling it now, but actually the way it happened. And then I felt like immediately I had this feeling take over me. I'm like, oh my god, well, like I shouldn't have done that because that's not me.
Yeah.
But in a sense, so then I started thinking about who was that? Like, who was that person who possessed my body and then said that? It's kind of like that person triggered something in me.
Yeah.
That came manifested, and then suddenly you look at yourself inside and you're like, wait, what the fuck did you do?
It's kind of like you switch out into a different character, come back, and then suddenly there's a feeling overcome.
So to answer your question, like, am I like not aggressive? It's again, that's why I still consider myself a coward, because in front of this person, because he was older and kind of as seen me grow up as from a kid to who I am now, I just kind of become minuscule. I become like a kid. So then
I have the same thing. Exactly. Same
so
thing.
Then like what do you do in that sense, right?
There
like,
is so like do you know?
No,
like I also don't like I'm like for me it's just a degree of assertiveness.
In my naivete, I feel like all I need to do is basically put down on my own, like kind of do like a homework where like I put down all my ideas and then kind of like organize and see how it needs to be communicated in a way that would be clear and explains my reasoning. So in a sense, the way I am willing to accept someone like a Trump supporter who's like, kind of like, who will come really aggressively and kind of put the ideas and I'm willing to take them, hopefully, try to understand them. I'm expecting that from that person, right? And this will not happen.
It will not happen
because it goes back to like you come sometimes think like, how can a person be that different?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they are.
They are,
because their experience is completely different. They're different. They're a different animal, right? So, but I don't know. I'm hoping that.
Just going I've tried that. I've tried that homework and
you
that
mean
reasoning.
Kind of like organize, like saying these ideas. Okay, next time I talk to them, I'm going to say this, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
And then it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Consistently, it doesn't work because then I like went back to kind of like try and understand what is it that I want out of it.
But was it like a one-time attempt? Or
No, I'm talking about multiple. I'm talking about multiple attempts at kind of like working through.
What is that? What is it? So it goes back. So for example, we say that we should like talk people with different ideas, but then we can't even do that with the members of our own family.
But that's why they're there. They're like these deep installs in your simulation that were like provided for you to kind of like grow out of some things that you're here to learn. That's why they're that deep embeddings. Is my language? Should I use different language to say what I just said? But the lessons that God sent you here to learn were put down as your family so that you could confront them.
Is it? I mean, but does that mean that whatever I do, or however I manifest what I love doing, in somehow like whatever I do, which are somehow ideas that I formed in my head that like, oh, this feels like drawing feels good, so then I wanna draw. I don't know, podcasting feels good, so then I want to podcast. So, am I supposed to like justify these in front of these?
No. So that's the thing. No.
The more you try to convince them, you're
playing the wrong move.
Okay.
I don't think it's the convincing or even the
but
having them accepting.
Then we're contradicting what I was saying.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
There's a third different thing. The fourth way, right over there is an integration, right? So those examples that I gave of like the three kind of like 3 or 4 confrontations that I've tried to kind of work through, right, where I did my homework and I'm like, I'm gonna explain myself clearly or whatever. I realized that the move I'm making is just, it's wrong. It's not about how you're making the move. It's like the move that I'm trying to make, like what I'm trying to get out of the situation was wrong, right? It's like when you're talking to someone who is just not looking at the world through your level of understanding. Like you're just in a different feeling space, right? But there is a strong feeling on the other side that you are not meeting. Does that make sense? Like in your example, like, oh, you like to do art, you like to do podcasting and everything, and you are hearing them contradict that. Oh, no. That's just their way of saying it. What they're saying is something completely different. They're kind of like pointing at a different feeling from a different feeling space, right? It translates because of our lack of understanding where that message is coming from. So it feels like, oh, you're offering an antithesis to everything that I love doing. No, that's not what's happening. In my case, it's like I want to meet at a feeling space where I'm like, okay, are you seeing reality the way I'm seeing it?
Yeah, but no one sees the reality the way.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why the move was wrong for me, right? What I had to understand was like, here's this person who wants to be seen or wants to be heard, and I'm coming in the way of that. That's it. That's all that was happening. And my inability to see that was the source of all of my own suffering.
Yeah, this goes back to the play that I was talking about, No Exit, right? Where this character Garcin is trying his best to kind of make the other two women. So it's actually one guy and two women. But there's this character called Inez. She sees through him. He's transparent. Like she can push his buttons. She knows exactly what. And in a sense, like she's almost like integrated her dark side, like her shadow side.
Yeah.
And she's like kind of playing with him, like she's like, and even like I said, that moment when he actually leaves, and then she says like, oh, leave because I'll just see you, you'll still be a coward, bro. And then he suddenly like just decides to stay in the room, right? And so I'm so then, like, okay, if talking to them, like, then what is the, how do you get out of it is what the thing is. That so then the change is in me.
Yeah.
So then I just lose this idea that I'm not a coward. But then how do I know?
So that's the thing, right? Like that, that example that you gave where you kind of like were overcome.
Yeah, but my logic is like I consider myself a coward because I don't have the courage to confront this, right? So therefore I'm a coward. So then you're saying that confronting it.
The inability to confront is coming from holding on to a feeling space.
Mm-hmm.
A version of you that you're sure you are.
Yes.
That there's a conditioning that I think we all have, which keeps us locked into a certain space. Out of fear, out of whatever it might be. Those things I think you can kind of pursue and investigate for yourself. But what I think it should come down to in all cases is, oh, I was just choosing to be in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I was choosing to look at it this way. So once you're aware that this is a choice that you're like, you're making actively every time you look at the person that same way, or even yourself, I think that's half the problem solved, where you're just like, okay, wait, are you telling me that I can choose to feel differently about this? That's how I felt like when I did feel these changes. Not that I acted on them, but the invitation to act on it is unlocked from this.
Yeah, is it like almost like you have your workout like for your body? So is it just like a mental workout, but then just like basically, yeah. But then but you're then in that case, you can do this with anything, right? I mean, that's what the other groups are doing, which is like they're kind of convincing themselves every day that I'm right, like because So then, like, I'm just saying, how do you? I don't know. I have a personality where I want to find a compromise, or I want to find a solution.
Yeah.
Right, with that person. So you're saying that that's not possible.
Solution. Okay, define solution here. What is that solution?
Solution means that basically, like, you just have a discussion, and whether we agree or not, like, at least I have brought up that point about how the way I think you feel about what I'm doing, or the way I feel,
and both sides kind of accept that.
Yeah.
You're looking for the solution. Okay, that might be one manifestation of a solution.
Yeah.
I'm saying look at it more from the abstract. The abstract version of this.
But then you're but if we recommend that, if you're okay, go ahead. So you're saying, okay, sorry, go ahead. So what you're saying is like there's another solution where you're looking
like
at.
I'm looking at the problem that you're trying to solve, right? The thing that you want out of it, the way you described it. I'm not discounting that as something that that is wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's one manifestation of a more abstract version of the solution that we're actually looking for, where this energy is not blocked.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's the more abstract version of it, where like this person or what they're saying, their point of view, whatever, is not something that is coming in the way for you. Does that look like an acknowledgement from them of your ideas or the way you look at the world or anything like that? Maybe. But I don't think that's the only one. Right? Like there is a place, for example, where they don't meet eye to eye with your ideas, but you're not bothered by that. Because I feel like right now you might be bothered by that.
Yeah.
Right? I might be a certain way right now where I'm just like, Boris, you don't support the left wing idea of da da da, and I'm just like, man, that's just, I don't like you, man, because you don't support that idea or something. And you could just be like what are you saying, like what, like how is this relevant, like like that kind of, like you'd see right through me holding on to, oh, that guy, he's just like stuck over there with that thing.
So then it's not actually the eye of that person over me. It's not actually that power could be broken if I actually interpret like why I feel the way I feel, right? So in a sense, like I am already doing the things that I want to do, and then like I mean, of course, like I want to do more. But then I go into these spaces more, sometimes where I feel bad because I think of this, but then
Chicken and egg.
then figure out why am I going to those places, or what is bringing me to those places, right?
Exactly. And then that person comes up when you're in that space because they own that space.
Yes.
That is the invitation, not to break the thing, but like
Yeah.
use it to your advantage maybe.
Yeah.
It could be that too, where you kind of like go past it, right?
Yeah.
And I have like a clear example of that in my own life where I've dealt with that, the heavy kind of like, it's this way, not that way, kind of like, I have to choose between two. I was just I was getting caught up, not realizing that, oh, this is just a feeling space that I choose to go to, where that reality, those ideas, that person comes alive. So it's like that person is actually there to help you. You're not seeing how they're there to help you. Because if you saw that, you'd just be like, yeah, okay. That thing that bothers you, that takes you into that space, is not that person.
Now, okay, so that is a really great example for me, and I think that is really helpful for me. But I, because okay, physically I'm not near that person, and actually I've kind of built, so the cost of actually, I don't know, quote unquote, being rejected or like completely cut off from that person is not, it's not, there's no risk actually, right? But I was thinking about like, because so this goes back to what Sartre is saying, which is like you always have a choice. Where like so he's basically saying like work internally, right? I mean in some sense. Now, I love that idea, and I think just like you did with me now, like I think we have to work through that and slowly, whenever the next time that I catch that feeling, like, okay, like
be aware that you're in that space.
Yeah. So be aware I'm in that space, and either I don't know how to put it, but like reduce the power that it has on me, or like, or realize that, okay, this thing is bringing me to this place, but then if I take care of this, then like, I'll be okay in it, or something like that. Anyway, but I'm thinking like, what if, for example, let's say there's a person who's gay, right? In a country and in a family where it's actually in a country where it's illegal to be gay, or where they cannot be who they want to be, because like the example that I took is like, okay, being an artist or living this kind of certain life that is not your typical having, yes, of course I have day job, but like not actually doing what that person has expected of me, right? So so in that case, like my question was like, when someone is in that space of like, if they express or if they do anything that shows that they are gay, the cost is huge. Like they could be like killed, or kind of like beaten and thrown to the streets, or whatever. Like I don't know. Again, so where is the escape? Because so again, to go back to the name of that play, like No Exit. Like so I was always wondered, like, okay, when a person, you're stuck in that room with someone, and that room could be the relationship, right? Like you're stuck in that relationship where that person is having this impact that you are, that is making you change yourself, and then suddenly like creating a split in you, or like alienating you from yourself, like authentic self and so on. and then you manifest that, like you act as a coward, and then so it keeps feeding. So now we just discussed like there's a way out of an escape out of that right problem. The situation that I just described with the guy who's gay and what is the escape in that?
So here's if I was to draw a parallel there, right? It's like in the example that you gave versus the example of that person being stuck in a place where it's illegal to be themselves, right? There's like first of all, like let's acknowledge that there is a narrativization that is happening there, where like, a person has a different idea of what you should be doing, but you're doing something else, right? In the example of that, that gay person, that like they're in a place where it's just like illegal to be, to have that orientation or whatever, like that. Being you is illegal. I think there's first of all, there's like a feeling space that you adopt, which allows for that story in the first place. Okay, I know how that sounds for someone who's gay. We'll get there.
So say that again. There's a feeling.
There's a certain feeling that you have, right? That's making it sound like that's what's happening, but that's actually not what's happening.
Yeah.
In your example, like the person who might have a different idea for you that you should be doing, not the day job and pursuing your art, but working at a multinational company. This is a story for a feeling that you're not in the right place, or you don't have enough, or don't pursue your creative instincts because the world does not reward it. Like these are all stories. At bottom is a feeling, right? Do you understand?
So it's kind of like chicken and egg there. Like
it is very much. That's what I'm trying to describe. The story
the
is
feeling comes from story, or
right. So like you can actually be telling a different story.
Yeah.
Now, as that feeling, like you can sink into that feeling more. For example, that would create a different narrative. I am not good enough. I don't deserve to. Like you can get even more deep into that feeling, and you can bring out a narrative that's completely like out there, right? The other way would be a diffusion of that feeling into being in your body and like being integrated and like being, I am exactly where I need to be. I am an artist and I have a day job and I have enough and I'm, whatever. Maybe you can't do that. So maybe there's a different story. Like, do you know where I'm getting at with this? It's like the story, the way it plays out for you.
Yeah.
Right now in the narrative that you have is a binary.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's this other life where you have, I guess, a stable job or whatever. The one that you actually already gave up, right? Where you were doing, and you're doing day job and art on the side.
Yeah.
What's the third different thing that integrates these two? What is that story? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like that's the diffuser. In the example of the person who's like gay, like they're probably feeling really out of place in that where it's illegal to be them, right? What can they do? I don't know. Start a movement. Find the other people who feel they're like them and call for a change to some government policy, or not let it affect you. I don't want to hold on to my identity. I will stay under the radar. I don't have anything against a society that's so backwards. I don't want to change anything. I am not affected by this. Nobody's gonna ever find out that I'm gay. That kind of a thing, right? They can explore either avenue that they want, right? But like there's the choice of feeling stuck, right? Like that feeling can manifest in a negative way or in a way where they can, figure out like action that makes it less so, right?
Yeah.
So like that same thing I think is happening in the example that you're giving, where there's a feeling that you're holding on to.
Yeah.
Which doesn't like exhibit any evolution because action is not like available. That's why that person keeps coming up to steal attention.
And also it's also like measuring the risk of like how much are you willing to sacrifice.
Fear is the mind killer, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. So then again to go back to that person or me is that if and also we are not like when I'm imagining this country or this family, it's not like a jungle where it's like there's nothing or it's a pretty developed, let's say, country, and then So there are ways, because we don't have the actual details about this story, like what does the father do, what does the mother do, whatever, like siblings or not, like what is the are you going, like this person, let's say this person is going to school or university. Actually, again, if you really, you can't even try actually to convince, or actually to because the cost will be too high, right? I don't know. Like, that's a really difficult.
It's a
thing.
failure
It's
mode, dude.
and,
Like,
and then
I
and
think
then
that's what-
you you figure out a way out in a sense, like either you just do a job and you save money, and then you just basically take a flight to somewhere, and then like kind of just basically disappear,
Yeah.
and then so that you can be uh, whatever you want, but then
it still
it's
haunts you.
Yeah, yeah, and
Funny how that works, right?
yeah, yeah. So
It is because you're actually not going anywhere. Like you can change your physical surroundings, but like, dude, I've changed my physical surroundings like 4-5 times. I've lived in 3 different countries.
yeah,
I've done different jobs. Somehow I keep like
because you
finding my-
live in your head, right? I mean, we all live in your heads.
It's 100%. I'm not
Yes.
even. I'm trying to hide the fact, but like every time I've tried to kind of like just change my surroundings have followed me around, one for one. I can see how the same characters show up. I can see how the same dynamics play out. I can see how I keep making the same mistakes, and I kind of like look back now in the wake of like the people that I've met, the bridges that I've burned, and all the kind of like experiences that I've had. Wow, I'm actually not moving at all. Right, like this is all just playing out as a product of my stance where I am. And so you look at all the characters.
Yeah.
When you look back, you look at all those characters and you're just like, oh, you're all just playing the script out for me,
Yeah.
and behind the very dehumanizing way of looking at what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like this is God that's kind of like trying to teach me something, right? And then if I can just step out of the character that I'm playing and kind of like see what it's doing, I'll know that, okay, like, do I just want to be stuck here, or do I want to do something
so
about
so now
this?
it gives me a new understanding of, like, whenever you talk about like this is a simulation.
Yeah, that's
It
how
is,
I mean
it is a simulation.
Yeah.
And you are the programmer.
You
right?
are both. Like, it's
Yeah.
very complicated. Like,
Yeah.
you are the thing itself. Like, I am the simulation in some sort of way, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying simulation and like, oh, who's the programmer, what's on the
No,
outside.
no, no. You are like you are
You can edit the code.
you are interpreting like the reality in a certain way, and then so which means like
Yeah.
you kind of seeing the codes like in the matrix, but then
Yeah.
like everybody sees the same thing but in different codes.
Yeah.
And then you live according to those codes, and then suddenly it has an impact on the universe or whatever.
Yes.
And then okay, yeah.
That's just, I think that's like a creation myth that makes sense to me. It's not really a creation myth. It's just like, okay, there is breathtakingly, fascinating dynamics that are playing out for the character that I think I'm playing in this thing. And that's like it is literally like my experience is being mediated by those dynamics, and I need to understand them and know how I can act to make it better for me and everyone around me.
Yeah.
Like that. It's just like, okay, that's it. That's all I need to worry about.
Yeah. No, that was really good. Like, wait, how long did we do?
It's pretty good, dude. Yeah, 2 hours.
No,
We
but
can- yes, and
this is really interesting. Oh, another point that I wanted to say was that that mental exercise, that workout that we talked about. Actually, I think that's why, like, when people say like, oh, I write my my like the things that I'm grateful for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's to occupy that emotional space, like you said, more and more, so that again, basically, you're trying to decode or reprogram your brain
Yes.
through these things, right?
Yeah.
So then,
Psychotechnologies, all of them.
Okay.
Writing is
yeah.
talking to yourself from outside.
Because then,
of
because
time.
without all this context, without all this reasoning, when you actually say, "Oh, I do this," it's just one way of, like, I mean, amongst, like, I don't know, a million to get to So what is again is it goes back to. So then is it? So are we just trying to go to the version of ourselves that we are imagining? Like where are we going?
We're all walking each other home, my friend. We're all going to God. But that's
No,
just
but
one way
what I'm
of saying
saying.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Like but that version of you, like the idealized version of yourself, is God, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just one. That's one very like reductionist kind of narrativized way of saying it, which makes sense to people. If you
Yeah.
want to look at it at a technical level,
Because that's why we create these stories of
Yes.
these like
Yeah.
whether it's superheroes or whatever.
yeah,
So kind of almost like saying, like almost like, putting things out there like almost like targets,
yeah,
and then saying like this is where we're going.
yeah.
Um,
And there's
of course, I'm not saying it's.
there are
but-
ways to do that, and
Yeah.
there's like side effects of that.
Yeah,
But like at a
exactly.
personal
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
you have to understand that you are playing this game on yourself in a sense inside the simulation, where like
Yeah.
you don't even have to go there. Like maybe it's fine where you are, or you want to go the opposite way. It's all up to you. Like it's like a sandbox that way also, where you just want to like explore what hell looks like. Sure, man, go for it. Like I don't know, maybe that's what turns you on. Like but there is this space that you are exploring, which allows for experience to be, programmed almost. Like you can program your way to a different feeling space where life happens differently. Like that's a very like abstract out there way of describing it, right? Because like when you're saying that there's this place you're trying to go to, yeah, you can impose that directionality to it if you want to speak of it that way, if you feel the need to do that, right? I feel the need to do that very often because I feel very stuck sometimes in like, okay, what's going on here, right? Like, and when I try to like narrativize that for myself, it feels like an invitation from a future version of me to kind of like be in a position where I understand myself better, even like like the walking from hell towards heaven, right? Like the idea of like being in like a very negative valence state to a positive valence. Like it's just like, yeah, I'll say I want this, I want that for myself, right?
Yeah.
In that you have already kind of like admitted that you want to kind of like go towards God, right? That kind of thing.
I think that's amazing. Yeah, I think that. I mean, do you wanna like take a?
We can take a break. We can
go have lunch.
let's eat something.
Okay.
All right.
So I think I mean I don't know. We always go to really cool places. So I think I'm really glad that
This
we
is a good
did it.
exercise.
So yeah.
And I'm glad we've been doing it regularly. Let's see if we can keep it up.
We can. I think that's the thing, right? It's not a question anymore.
All right. I love it.